What happens when a woman who built her career on grace walks straight into the crosshairs of a host determined to draw blood? The second Reba McEntire sat across from Joy Behar, the tension snapped tight. Reba arrived with music in her heart. Joy arrived with a loaded question on the tip of her tongue. And in that instant, everyone watching knew one truth. This wasn't just an interview. This was a confrontation waiting to detonate. The morning at the View looked like any other. Bright lights, busy hallways, a quick countdown echoing across the stage. Reba McEntire walked in calm and steady, the way she always carried herself. She was here to talk about her new album, her tour, and the fans who'd been with her through every chapter of her career. But what she didn't know, what no one had told her, was that Joy Behar had something in mind. Reba walked in expecting a conversation about music. Joy walked in planning something very different. The contrast was sharp, even before a single question was asked. Joy greeted the cameras with her usual big smile, but something in her eyes didn't match the warm tone of her voice. It was the kind of smile that looked friendly from across the room, but felt sharp when you stood close. Reba returned the greeting politely, expecting the usual opening chatter. Joy started with a question. Our viewers want to know where you stand on issues that actually affect working families, she said, leaning forward like she was ready to cross-examine a witness instead of interview a guest. Reba blinked, taken off guard, but kept her voice even. I'm here to talk about the music and the folks who've carried me for 40 years. She tried to steer things back to safer ground, but Joy had no intention of letting her. Joy's smile tightened, her tone sharpened, and then she went straight for the people Reba cared about most, her fans. Your fan base is overwhelmingly conservative. Don't you think they keep voting against their own interests? It wasn't a question meant to spark discussion. It was meant to provoke. Reba's fingers tightened just slightly on the arm of her chair. She didn't snap back. She didn't roll her eyes. She stayed steady. My audience isn't a punchline, Joy. They're teachers, nurses, farmers, veterans. Real people, not your talking points. It was a gentle correction, but firm enough to show she wasn't going to let Joy steamroll her. But Joy wasn't backing down. If anything, that answer only pushed her harder. As Reba tried to continue, speaking kindly about the people who spend their hard-earned money to see her shows, Joy cut her off mid-sentence. That's a nice Hallmark card answer, but we're talking about reality here. Joy didn't ease her way in. She didn't even pretend. She went straight for the jugular. You stayed quiet during Black Lives Matter. You stayed quiet during every major cultural fight. Silence from someone like you is a choice, and it says a lot. Her tone wasn't curious. It wasn't even frustrated. It was a flat-out accusation, like she'd already decided Reba was guilty and the interview was her courtroom. Reba held her posture, but the hit landed. Anyone could see that. Still, she forced herself to answer with a calmness Joy clearly wasn't expecting. Doing good doesn't require a press release, Joy. I've spent 40 years putting my money and my time where my mouth is, without cameras following me around. Joy's eyebrows shot up, mocking. Reba continued, voice steady but pointed. There's quiet work, and there's loud virtue. I just don't feel the need to shout every decent thing I do. Joy leaned back, smirk forming, one of those smirks that tells you she thinks she's found the weak spot. How convenient, Reba. Her voice dripped sarcasm. You get to hide behind charity work, so you never have to take a real stand. That's not humility. That's avoiding responsibility. That hit wasn't subtle. It wasn't political. It was personal. A few seconds of heavy electric silence followed. Reba didn't blink, didn't smile, didn't soften. Something changed behind her eyes, like a door quietly closing. She picked up her coffee cup and set it down again. A tiny sound, but it cut through the air like a trigger. Then she spoke, slow, clear, and unmistakably done with being pushed around. If we're going to throw around words like complicity, Joy, let's make sure we actually know what they mean. Joy opened her mouth, but Reba didn't let her jump in. She leaned in slightly, voice still calm but sharpened like steel. Complicity isn't staying quiet. Complicity is assuming you're the moral referee of people you've never met. It's talking like you're the only one who cares about this country. That's complicity. Joy blinked. caught off guard for the first time. Reba wasn't finished. So if you want to talk about responsibility, trust me, Joy, I've carried mine just fine. I don't need a camera to prove it. Reba didn't lean back or look away. She stared straight at Joy, calm, controlled, but with an edge so sharp it cut the air in half. Her voice dropped just a little, the way someone sounds when they stop being polite. Complicity is sitting in a Manhattan studio, pulling a six-figure paycheck, calling people you've never met ignorant because they don't vote the way you want them to. Joy jerked forward, ready to interrupt, desperate to seize back control. But Reba simply lifted her hand. You've had your turn, Joy. Let me finish. Joy forced a laugh, thin, shaky. I'm just asking people to think critically about what they support. That's not an attack. It's accountability. She said accountability like a magic word that excused everything she'd thrown out. Like it was a shield she thought Reba wouldn't push through. Reba tilted her head slightly, the faintest sign she found that answer insulting. Then she let her words fly, slow, surgical, impossible to dodge. Wanting people to think critically is not the same as wanting them to think exactly like you. Joy's smile dropped. Reba pressed harder. You're not promoting critical thinking, Joy. You're promoting obedience, dressed up as enlightenment so you can feel righteous while everyone nods along. That line hit Joy right where she lived, her image, her platform, her self-appointed authority. She had no comeback. For the first time, she looked rattled. Reba didn't stop. She shifted from argument to evidence. Real people, real stories Joy couldn't twist. Sarah from Tennessee, single mom, saved for months just to bring her daughter to one of my shows. She doesn't vote the way you want her to, but she's doing everything she can to keep her kid fed. Joy opened her mouth. Reba talked right through it. Frank from Iowa, veteran, PTSD. He told me my music was the first thing that helped him sleep again. But sure, let's call him part of the problem, right? Joy swallowed hard. Reba leaned in a little closer, voice lower, more dangerous. And the young waitress from Oklahoma who worked double shifts, living off tips, just to afford one concert ticket. Tell me, Joy, is she stupid too? Or just inconvenient for your narrative? Joy froze. Every story peeled another layer off her argument, her certainty, her superiority. Then Reba delivered the blow that ended the round completely. These people aren't your caricature, Joy. They don't fit inside your punchlines. And they're not props for your monologues. They're human, something you seem to forget. Joy's eyes flashed, hurt, offended, cornered. She tried one last swing, reaching for the only weapon she had left. Intellect. I don't need to live in rural America to understand voting patterns, she snapped. Reba didn't even blink. Her reply was instant, cleaner and deadlier than anything she'd said yet. Exactly, that's the problem. You'd rather read a poll than meet a person. Joy exhaled like she'd taken a punch straight to the ribs, and Reba exhaled slowly, almost like she was giving Joy one last chance to correct course. But Joy didn't take it, so Reba switched gears, calm, surgical, lethal. Let's be clear about what you've said in the last 10 minutes, Joy. Her voice didn't rise, but it cut. You've called my fans backwards. You suggested they're hurting the country, and you questioned their intelligence, their values, and their character. Each line landed harder than the last, because she wasn't editorializing. She was quoting. Joy immediately shook her head, hands coming up like she could physically push the words away. I didn't say they were stupid, Reba. That's not what I said. Reba raised an eyebrow, slow, unimpressed. No? Joy swallowed. Reba leaned forward, looking her dead in the eye. You sure you want to stand on that? Joy opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. I meant their choices, not... Reba didn't let her finish. She turned to the camera. The move was deliberate, confident, the kind of gesture only someone who knows they're telling the truth would dare to make on live TV. We can ask your producers to roll it back if you'd like. Every word is on tape. Joy froze, not fully, but enough that the audience would replay that moment for days. Reba turned back, softer but more devastating than before. You don't have to say the words stupid, Joy, for people to hear that you think they are. Joy's face twitched, just a flicker, but enough to show that line hit exactly where Reba aimed. And Reba wasn't finished. Her tone shifted, not fiery, not triumphant, just deeply, painfully disappointed. You keep saying you care about working people, but you talk about them like they're broken toys you know how to fix. Like they're lost, confused, waiting for you to tell them what to think. Joy stiffened, preparing a comeback, any comeback. Reba drove the final line before she could speak. That's not compassion, Joy. That's condescension wearing a friendly smile. And trust me, people can feel the difference. This time, Joy didn't even pretend to respond. She just stared, jaw tight, eyes darting everywhere except at Reba. Reba didn't look angry anymore. She sat back slightly, not to retreat, but to get a clearer aim. Her voice came out calm, too calm for the tension in the room. You had a real chance today, Joy. Joy stiffened. Reba continued, each sentence dropping heavier than the last. You could have asked what I've seen traveling this country. What keeps my fans awake at night? What gives them hope in the mornings? She shook her head faintly. But you didn't want any of that. You walked in here with a verdict already written. Joy inhaled sharply, like she'd been slapped in a room full of cameras she couldn't escape. She forced her voice steady. My job is to challenge people with platforms. That's what I'm doing. But even she didn't sound convinced. Reba's eyes narrowed, soft in expression, sharp in meaning. Challenge? She let out a breathy laugh, one without humor. Challenging someone means you're willing to hear the answer, Joy. Ambushing them means the answer never mattered at all. Joy looked down quickly, as if checking her cards for backup. But they had nothing left to offer her. Her fingers fidgeted. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Reba leaned in, lowering her voice so the words hit even harder. Let's be honest. You didn't invite me here to talk. You invited me here to check a box, to make an example out of me, to score a point you wrote in your head before I even sat down. Joy's throat tightened. The confident host who always had a punchline, gone. Reba wasn't finished. Her tone softened, but the softness now carried something heavier than anger. It's truth. You talk about working people like you still understand them. But listen to how you speak to them. Listen to how you speak about them. Joy looked up, eyes wide, wounded, unsure where this was going. Then Reba dropped the line that sliced straight through the persona Joy had built. Once upon a time, you were the one sitting at a kitchen table, counting dollars, not headlines. You weren't on a TV set. You were one of them. And somewhere along the way, Joy, you forgot what that feels like. Joy's face collapsed just a bit, barely noticeable, but enough to show that the words hit home. The studio air felt different now, thicker, heavier, charged like a storm about to snap open. Joy sensed it too, and instead of stepping back, she lunged straight into the fire. Her voice came out sharper than ever, packed with frustration she could no longer hide. You're dodging, Reba. You're polished, sure, but you're still dodging. People with your influence can't hide behind this both sides nonsense. You don't get to just sit in the middle and pretend that's neutral. Her words weren't just an attack. They were a last desperate grab at moral high ground. Reba didn't flinch. Instead, she straightened, subtly but completely. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't break eye contact. With a voice low, steady, and heavier than anything she'd said yet, she answered, I'm not hiding behind anything, Joy. I just refuse to let you tell millions of people who love my music that they're beneath you. That single line shifted the power dynamic so violently it felt physical. Joy's expression twitched, anger mixing with something more vulnerable. Fear, maybe, but Reba didn't stop. She leaned forward just a fraction, enough to make the words impossible to run from, and then she delivered the strike she had been building toward. The line that would define the entire confrontation. The working-class woman you used to be would be ashamed of how easily you talk down to them now. Joy's face drained of color. The studio didn't move. Not a breath. Not a sound. Even the cameras felt like they froze. Joy finally found her voice, but it shook, just enough to betray that the hit landed deep. Don't you dare question where I came from. Reba's answer came instantly, softly but unforgiving. I'm not questioning where you came from, Joy. I'm questioning who you've become. The line hung in the air, razor sharp, impossible to ignore. Joy recoiled, not dramatically but visibly, like someone realizing too late that they stepped into a fight they were never equipped to win. And Reba didn't celebrate. She didn't smile. She didn't even look satisfied. She just looked resolute. Joy was hanging by a thread and she knew it. Her voice had lost its sharpness. Her posture had lost its certainty. But she tried one last time to pull herself back into moral authority, the place she always felt safest. I'm using my platform to speak hard truths. That takes courage, Reba. She said the word courage like it was her last shield, the last piece of ground she could stand on. Reba didn't attack. She didn't smirk, didn't roll her eyes, didn't even blink. She just looked at Joy with a kind of calm that cut deeper than anger ever could. Then she spoke, softly but with absolute precision. Courage is looking someone in the eye and listening, even when they don't agree with you. What you're doing isn't courage, Joy. It's condescension with a spotlight. The line landed like a gavel, final, undeniable, loud even and quiet. Joy's chin trembled. Her hand moved toward her water glass, fingers shaking just enough to betray everything she was trying to hide. But Reba wasn't finished. She leaned in slightly, not to intimidate, but to make sure Joy heard every single word. You keep inventing villains out of people you've never met, so you never have to ask if maybe you're the one who's wrong. Joy froze, eyes wide, mouth open, but no sound coming out. She had debated senators, actors, CEOs, politicians, but she had never faced someone who cut through her defenses without raising their voice. Reba's tone softened. No heat, no anger, just truth delivered straight to the heart. Disagreeing with someone doesn't make them your enemy. Treating them like an enemy, that's how you tear a country apart. Joy's shoulders fell. Her gaze dropped to her hands. She didn't even try to respond this time. Reba inhaled slowly, then offered the final line, the one that closed the door completely. Firm, clear, unmistakable. You wanted a spectacle. I wanted a conversation. I think America can see which one they got today. A short, sharp burst of applause broke out. Not described, just acknowledged. Joy didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even lift her head. For the first time on her own show, she had nothing left to say. If this moment told us anything, it's that honesty still has power, and grace under pressure can speak louder than any confrontation. If you want more stories that pull back the curtain on what really happens when public figures collide, make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and don't miss the next chapter in these unbelievable showdowns.